Welcome to Nyxks Musings. In today's episode, we are going to be covering service dogs. So, for that, I'm calling this episode Paws and Purpose. In this episode, we're going to dive into the capabilities of the incredible world of service dogs, explore how these amazing animals transform lives, and what it takes to train them. I'm Nyxks, your host, and if you're passionate about dogs, fascinated by their abilities, or curious about the journey that it takes to become a service dog, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Now, here you ask, what is a service dog? Or, what is an assistance dog? And the answer is, a service dog or an assistance dog is more than just a pet. They are a highly trained companion that assists individuals with disabilities, helping them navigate daily life and to become more independent. The tasks range from guiding visually impaired people to alert those who are deaf to important sounds, to pulling wheelchairs, and even helping someone who is having a seizure. Service dogs can also help remind someone to take their medication, or calm someone during a PTS episode, or even during an anxiety attack. They are truly a remarkable animal and play a very important role. Now, I'm sure you're wondering what it takes to select a service dog, because not every dog is suited to being a service dog. The selection process is critical and focuses on finding a dog with the right temperament, health, and abilities. Some key qualities needed when it comes to temperament is a service dog must be calm, gentle, and friendly. They should not be easily startled or aggressive, and they must be able to handle various environments and situations without becoming anxious or distracted. They also have to be intelligent and highly intelligent. They've got to be able to learn and perform complex tasks. They must understand and be able to execute commands reliably. No waiting 5 seconds and then maybe doing it. They've got to do it now, no delay. And they also have to be healthy. Only dogs that are truly healthy should be chosen to ensure that they can handle the physical demands required for their tasks. Regular checkups at the vet are essential to maintain their ability to serve. Then you come to socialization. A good service dog must be well and truly socialized. The ability to interact comfortably with people and other animals and navigate various environments. This is critical because you don't want a dog that shies away from a loud sound or a kid screaming or even a trolley going by. You want a dog that is there and present and isn't startled. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, well, okay, so if not every dog can be a service dog, what dogs can be? Are there a specific breed or breeds? Can a mutt be a service dog? Well, the answer is short and long. The reality is, any breed technically can become a service dog. There are unicorns in every breed that will fit the criteria. But the common dogs that are normally chosen for service work tend to have characteristics that are sought out. And the four most common breeds tend to be the Labrador Retriever, which are known for their intelligence, trainability, and friendly nature. Labs actually happen to be one of the more popular breeds used for service work, both by owner trainers and by programs. Then we have Golden Retrievers, which, similar to Labs, are intelligent, gentle, and highly trainable. And maybe not as well for some programs, but they are utilized by a lot. And then we have the least common one used by some programs, and that's the German Shepherd, which are highly intelligent and very versatile. German Shepherds are used for a wide variety of service tasks, but one of the primary ones that they've been used for several decades now is guide work and anything to do with mobility. A lot of the guide dog programs actually use German Shepherds for their standard stock for guides. Yes, they use Labs and other ones, but German Shepherds have been a long sought out breed for guide work. I'll link in the description one of the founding organizations that started the whole German Shepherds as guide dogs. And that will be another episode itself too. The other breed that is commonly used for service work are poodles. Mostly because of their hypoallergenic label, which can be for some people a misnomer, but for the most part they're good for people that have allergies, providing it's not a contact allergy for saliva. One of the reasons that they're good is they come in 3 standard sizes: toy, miniature, and standard. Or if you're in Europe, you got the Moyen, so forth size. They're highly trainable and very intelligent. Then we have basic training, which is about between 6 months and 12 months old. During this phase, dogs learn more advanced commands and begin to understand working with their handlers. They're trained to behave appropriately in public places like stores, restaurants, and on public transportation. Once this is down pat, then we get into task training, which for many, when it comes to at least the program side of things, is when they go back to the program from the puppy raisers. And this is between 1 year old to 2 years old. It's usually about a year-long process. Can be less, but the average is a year long. So by the time they are 2 years old, they will graduate. The training process, the dogs are trained to perform specific tasks that are based on what their future handlers' needs will be. This could include opening doors, retrieving items, providing balance support, alerting to medical conditions such as low glucose or even high glucose, and much more. Like when it comes for hearing ear dogs, alerting to a phone ringing or knock at the door or somebody's name being called. During the task train process, near the end, when they've actually have their tasks locked down, their future handler will be introduced to them. And during this time, the future handler and the dog will be put together and they will start working together. And over the course of a month or however long the program has stated, the dog and handler will start to bond and get used to each other. This doesn't always work. Sometimes a dog will be left to go with its handler, and at home it will not work, and they will have to come back to the training center and another dog will be assigned. Ultimately, it normally does work, but as I said, occasionally it doesn't. This leads me to the other side of the equation when it comes to service dog training. We also have what we know as owner training, which is a viable alternative for individuals who either can't afford a professionally trained service dog, or they don't meet specific program requirements to have a dog placed with them free of charge, which unfortunately happens more times than we want to think about, because each program has its criteria. Some require that you don't have any other animals in the house. You can't have another pet dog. You can't have a cat. Others will only train for one disability. So if you're hearing impaired and you also have mobility issues, you gotta choose which one the dog is trained for. Do you get one that's trained for hearing alert, or you get one that's trained for your wheelchair? It won't train for both. Or if you're diabetic and you need mobility, one or the other. You can't have both. So this is where owner training can come in handy. It's just as vigorous process as a program going through its paces, but it's all on you to do the work, so to speak. Being an owner trainer, you still have to select the right dog. Just like professional programs have to select the right dog for the program, so do those who are going to owner train. You must still carefully select for the right temperament, health, and trainability. This means you have to educate yourself on what it takes to train a service dog. This can involve reading various books, attending different workshops, consulting with professional trainers, and even joining forums and online groups for the exact purpose of learning about service dogs and what it takes to train them. Then we come to the basic training that all dogs have to go through. It's no different for an owner trainer. You have to start with a basic obedience at home, which even means taking your dog to obedience classes, starting with the puppy class, going to the immediate class, then going to the advanced class, and really focusing on making sure you have a solid sit, stay, come, and heel. The heel part will vary depending on what your disability is and what is the type of heel you require, but you do need to have a dog that will at least stay by your side and walk with you. Not ahead of you, not behind you, but with you. When it comes to the more advanced side of training, this is where we get into public access and exposing the dog to different environments and situations. Then we come into the whole thing of task training. Training the dog for what your disability is and what tasks you will need the dog to perform to help you. A lot of this is done through positive reinforcement techniques and a lot of patience, which I know as somebody with a disability can be really hard when we get really tired or frustrated and the dog we feel is not paying attention to us, but it's a two-way street. We've got to work with them, they've got to work with us, and ultimately we've got to show the patience, because they don't know, we know what we want. They don't know what we want until we teach them. Now, this is an area that depends on where you live, might or might not be something you have to deal with. In some countries and regions, service dogs are required to go through certification and a public access test. This means that you actually have to go through a government assigned either program or course or some kind of evaluation that will get the dog certified that it is and has been trained as a task trained service dog or assistance dog, which can be pricey for some, depends on where you live. Like if you're in British Columbia, it's like $200 to certify your service dog that it has been trained, and it's only good for 2 years. And then you've got to recertify if the dog is not through a program. In Alberta, it's similar, but I think it's only $90. I don't honestly know. I haven't looked into the price of it, but I know it's cheaper than what is in BC. Same with Nova Scotia. They have their fees for the same thing for a certification. So, as I said, it depends on where you are, but if you're in the US, there is no certification or public access test. The ADA says that is not required. But as I said, it depends on where you are. Some places it is. When it comes to owner training, consistency is key. This means being regular with your training sessions and consistent within those training sessions. It's critical for success, which means you're aiming for short, frequent sessions rather than long, infrequent ones. This can look like doing 5 minutes of sits and then going and having the dog play and run around, and then say an hour later another 5 minutes of sits, and you keep doing it until the dog will do it consistently without much prompting, and as soon as you say it, it sits, or teaching it with commands to do it. Like for sit, when I want my dog to sit, I don't verbalize it. I basically do this. I touch my nose. And that's the signal for my girl to sit. It's also the signal for her sister to sit too. She's learning. But that's what I use, is I touch my nose. Actually, I do it like this. As I do that. With my knuckle, I don't do my finger. I do my knuckle. But that's my signal to my service dog to sit. It will depend on what works for you, for what you how you train the dog, but you have to be consistent with the commands you use, the words that are used, and any hand signals or finger signs that you use, so the dog understands that those specific words, sounds, or signs mean what you're training. Same goes for down. When I say down, I put my two fingers together and I go like this, down. And that's my girl knows that she has to lie down. Up, same thing. Heel is usually I tap the side of my leg or the side of my wheelchair, and that means she heels close to it. So for me, I've developed what works for me for training dogs, and this is for any kind of dog, but specifically for my personal needs, I use a lot of hand signals. Another thing that when it comes to training with consistency and everything is that you need to find what the dog responds to, which is normally positive reinforcement is like the ultimate for the dog to, yes, I want to do this, yes. But that can take on different forms, such as treat, praise, play. What you're trying to do is encourage a desired behavior. So whatever it takes that the dog will keep doing the behavior that you're asking for is what you need to basically do. Some dogs are not food motivated. You can have liverwurst, you can have a hot dog, you can have whatever. And they'll be like, I don't care. I don't want it. So, obviously having a treat of a food nature will be no good. Some dogs really love a specific toy. And being able to hold the toy in their mouth, shake it around or something, is the best thing in the world. So for them, that is the perfect reward. Or you have other dogs that they like to have, a scratch behind the ear or a good head ruffle. You have to find what works for the dog that to them is the ultimate in praise. And if you can find the ultimate praise and then the praise that they just were like, thank you, then that is the key to having a well-behaved dog in general, and ultimately a dog that will excel in service work. Now, there is these other side of things that if you are not 100% sure about what it is that you need to do to train for a specific task that you need, that is when putting out the call to a professional trainer will come in handy. I can honestly say it is not cheap. Depends on the trainer. Depends on where you live. When you're on a very tight fixed income, the idea of hiring someone to show you how to train your dog to do a specific task is really daunting. Especially when you're counting your pennies. It is tough. But if you're not sure how to do it, it is the best option. I have done it. When I was training my husband's last service dog, one of the things that I was not 100% sure of how to train or work with was what they call intelligence disobedience, which is a common thing used for guide work. I needed to train his dog to be able to do a version of guide work for when he had absent seizures. I needed his dog to be able to block his path so he wouldn't walk forwards during after he came out of an absent seizure and walk into the middle of a street. Or if he was in the middle of walking across the street and had an absent seizure while he was walking, that his dog would pull him across the street to safety. I had an idea of how to train it, but I didn't know how to go about doing it really. So I put out the call on one of the groups I was a member of, asking did anybody have a trainer or somebody knew how to do this task. And somebody reached out to me that had trained guide work. So I hired them for, 2 months. She came once a week for 2 months to show us and work with my husband and I to get his dog to do the basics. And she showed me how to do it too. So after she showed me how to get what I was trying to think to happen in the process, then that added to the repertoire what I could do, and I built upon what she showed me. So did my husband. He also learned some ways of handling his dog that I couldn't translate to him how to work with his dog, because his dog worked with me one way and I couldn't translate how for him and his dog to work together. She actually was able to get him to understand better. So that was another helpful thing that I couldn't impart on my husband, of how for him to work with his dog, that she as an outsider was able to. So sometimes having an outside trainer be able to look at you and your dog may pick up on things that you aren't seeing. Even a family member isn't seeing it, that they see you training all the time. So sometimes outside views are very helpful in progressing. Training a service dog, whether it come through a professional program or being an owner trainer, is a meticulous and demanding process that requires dedication and patience. The journey from selecting the right dog to completing their training involves ensuring that the dog possesses the necessary qualities and choosing the right breed for you. Following a structured training regime so you can track the progress of what's going on. The end results of this is a highly trained service dog, assistance dog, that is capable of providing individual assistance and independence to individuals with disabilities. Understand this process not only highlights the individual capabilities of these dogs, but the immense effort and care involved in preparing them for your vital roles. If you or someone you know could benefit from a service dog, it is essential that you do your research and find out if a program dog is better suited for your needs or if doing the owner trainer route would be more beneficial. Regardless, it is a rewarding journey that you will impart on that will be not easy, but rewarding in the end. Thank you for joining us in this episode of Paws and Purpose, part of Nyxks' Musings. If you find this information helpful, please share it with others who you know will also. And don't forget to subscribe, because I've got future episodes coming up for more information on service dogs and delving into my own service dog. And until next time, keep celebrating the bond that we have with our canine companions.